We begin with breaking news this morning. Several loud explosions have been heard in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. It comes after 2 nights of shelling in the city of Zaporizhia and speculation about possible retaliation from Moscow for an attack on a key bridge between Russia and occupied Crimea. Our correspondent, Fanny Facha, is in Kyiv. We'll try to speak to her now. Fanny, there you are. Tell us what's happening in the capital.
I was preparing to go live as I've heard several explosions. I didn't know just how close they were. So a lot of people who are staying in this building where I am right now rushed upstairs to the rooftop trying to find out and figure out what exactly has happened. What we know so far is that very close to this place where I am right now, really just a block away, several explosions destroyed partially buildings, but also hit cars. We do not know exactly how many people are injured or even dead. But according to the spokesperson of the emergency unit, who is right now there on the ground, and people are trying to save lives, say that it's expected that there's going to be a higher toll of people injured and killed. So right now, everybody right now is called on going to a safe shelter because these were the first explosions, people say, that may be followed by so many after that.
So airstrikes now in the capital, Kyiv. We haven't seen those in months. This comes just 2 days after the explosion on that bridge connecting Russia with Crimea. Vladimir Putin, Russia's president, is calling that an act of terrorism caused by Ukraine. Could this, what we're seeing, these attacks in the capital now in Kyiv, could those attacks be Russian retaliation for what happened on that bridge?
People very almost expecting that this is going to happen. You mentioned Zaporizhia, for example. Well, that city experienced 3 large explosions within 4 days. Residential buildings, apartments were hit. Civilians were killed. And this is exactly where the Ukrainian government is saying that what Russia is saying is really cynical, that Russia is claiming that Ukraine is executing acts of terrorism, while at the same time Russia is killing innocent civilian people. But yes, certainly this could be seen as a form of retaliation. At the same time, of course, so far at least, people here in Kyiv City felt relatively safe. In fact, I just returned yesterday on an overnight train that was packed with women and their children who, after 6 months abroad, 6 months being a refugee, just don't want to be a refugee anymore. They miss their home country and they are ready to return and to stay here. So despite all the tension and also the increasing rhetoric revolving around the possibilities of even of a nuclear attack, people are returning to Ukraine, are returning to Kyiv City. Of course, we just do not know how their playbook and how their future is going to change if things here in the capital are going to turn ugly.
Fanny, those explosions heard in the capital there this morning, do we know what caused them exactly? Do we know if these were missiles fired from jets or what?
It's really unclear because the only information that's available right now is from the mayor of the city of Kyiv, from Mr. Klitchko, and he just said basically that explosions have happened. More details are to come. So at this point, it's very important not to speculate whether these were airstrikes, whether these were drones, whether these were debris of drones that either exploded, like a kamikaze drone that we've heard a lot about lately. Ukraine claims that Iran supported Russian forces with these so-called kamikaze drones that just basically, self-explode, land on a target, and by that not only hit the residential building, but also injure people around it. We see videos which we cannot confirm at this point yet. In fact, we are trying to get close to the scene after this live, trying to see for ourselves what exactly has happened. But the first videos that emerge on social media show, unfortunately, not only cars burning, but also bodies laying around.
Fanny, thank you very much. We may come back to you later. Our correspondent, Fanny Facha, there in Kyiv. Well, officials in Ukraine say the city of Zaporizhia has seen a second night of Russian shelling. It comes after an explosion on a key bridge, as we mentioned, linking Russia to occupied Crimea on Saturday. Russian President Vladimir Putin is due to hold a meeting of his Security Council today. He called the explosion on the bridge an act of terrorism by Ukraine.
engulfed in flames after Saturday's explosion. Now President Putin has pinned the blame on Ukraine.
There's no doubt it was a terrorist act directed at the destruction of critically important civilian infrastructure. And the authors, perpetrators and those who ordered it are the special services of Ukraine.
While Ukraine hasn't claimed responsibility for the explosion, the bridge, which has since partially reopened, is a key supply route for Russian forces in southern Ukraine, and Kyiv has previously threatened to target it. Putin's accusation came hours after Russian missiles tore through this apartment block in the southeastern city of Zaporizhia. More than a dozen people were killed in the attack that hit multiple residential buildings in the city, which Russia has struck repeatedly in recent weeks. As rescuers and volunteers work to clear the rubble, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the latest strikes as terrorism and urged the international community to take action.
Official designation of Russia as a terrorist state is needed, designation at all levels. We need a clear condemnation at all levels of every escalating step by Russia, from terrorist attacks to the criminal attempt to annex our territory.
But even as Ukraine deals with the aftermath of yet another Russian attack, there could be more suffering to come, with Putin poised to decide on a response to the Crimea bridge explosion.